The story begins with a group of Chinese scientists working for the government. Their mission was to extract a rare and powerful mineral called the hypermatrix from rocks. Everything seemed to be going well until a scientist named Dr. Cube suddenly appeared at their research lab. Dr. Cube was determined to steal the hypermatrix for his own evil plans. Just as it seemed like he might succeed, a superhero named Flash, who had the incredible ability to control lightning, arrived to stop him. However, during the fight between Flash and Dr. Cube, something unexpected happened. The hypermatrix shattered into two pieces, releasing an enormous amount of energy. To make things worse, one of the pieces fused with Dr. Cube, transforming him into a terrifying monster. The explosion caused by this event was so powerful that it destroyed much of the area, leaving many children without parents and forcing them to become orphans. After the explosion, Flash mysteriously disappeared, and Dr. Cube, now more powerful than ever, began causing chaos across China. No one seemed able to stop him. But then, a new hero named Sonic emerged. At one moment, Sonic managed to defeat Dr. Cube and became a celebrated hero in the city. Defeated but not destroyed, Dr. Cube retreated underground to grow even stronger and plan his next move. The scene then shifts to 10 years later, showing the children who had lost their parents in the explosion were living in Tigress Orphanage. At that moment, they seemed happy and were playing a game of hide and seek together. One of the children, named EZ, decided to hide in an old, abandoned building nearby. Meanwhile, the child who was supposed to find them, Xinxin, got distracted and stopped counting. While exploring the old building, EZ stumbled upon a hidden tunnel. Feeling too scared to go inside, he chose to hide in a nearby box instead. Unfortunately, the box accidentally locked from the outside, trapping EZ inside. Panicked, EZ crying out for help, but no one heard him. Overwhelmed with fear, he eventually fainted. Luckily, Xinxin, who had been sneezing from the dust in the old building, eventually found EZ. When EZ finally woke up, he realized that he was in the arms of the kind and adorable Xinxin. From that moment, EZ felt a deep connection to her, and it was love at first sight for him. Sometime later, a group of mischievous kids from the orphanage decided to play a prank on EZ while he was spending time with his friend Jianhan. Thankfully, Xinxin was there too. To escape the pranksters, EZ, Jianhan, and Xinxin ran into the old building. At that moment, EZ remembered the secret passage he had discovered before and suggested they explore it together. To their amazement, the passage led them outside the orphanage grounds, into an area filled with crackling lightning. The trio followed the streaks of lightning, curious to find where they were coming from. Their search led them to a hidden place where Flash had been living. However, Flash wasn't in the mood for visitors. As soon as he noticed them, he quickly locked the door to his house. At that moment, EZ, Xinxin, and Jianhan recognized him and tried to talk to him, but Flash shooed them away, forcing them to leave. EZ understood why Flash was hiding. He felt deeply guilty about the explosion that had happened 10 years ago and the pain it had caused. Sometime later, Xinxin was seen giving EZ a haircut. As she carefully trimmed his hair, EZ gathered the courage to ask her what kind of man she dreamed of being with. Xinxin smiled and replied that she admired brave men. Her words stuck with EZ, and he silently promised himself that when they grew up, he would become the bravest man in the world and ask Xinxin to marry him. Years passed, and the children from the orphanage grew older. Xinxin moved to the city to continue her studies and start her career. Meanwhile, EZ and Jianhan stayed behind at the orphanage, unsure of what they wanted to do with their lives. Because they spent so much time reading letters and daydreaming instead of focusing on their studies, they often got scolded by the orphanage caretakers. One day, EZ and Jianhan decided to visit the city to celebrate Xinxin's birthday. Upon arriving, they were overjoyed to spend time with her, laughing and reminiscing about their childhood. The next day, EZ and Jianhan planned to surprise Xinxin at her workplace. But as they arrived, they witnessed a terrifying scene. A group of armed robbers was attacking the police. Not only that, Xinxin also got caught in the middle of the chaos and was taken hostage by the robbers. In response, Yizhi and Xinxin wanted to rush in and save her, but the police stopped them, saying it was too dangerous. Just when things seemed hopeless, Sonic appeared out of nowhere. With his incredible speed and strength, he defeated the robbers and rescued Xinxin. While everyone celebrated Sonic's heroism, Yizhi couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy. After that incident, Yizhi and Xinxin decided to pursue different paths. Xinxin wanted to take the police exam and become an officer, while Yizhi set his heart on becoming a boxer. He was determined to prove his bravery and win Xinxin's heart. One day, Yizhi went to a boxing gym to join, but he was quickly rejected after losing a sparring match in just one kick. Realizing how weak he still was, Yizhi decided to seek out Flash, hoping the once great hero would train him. After much pleading, Flash finally agreed to teach him. Flash's first lesson was to help Yizhi build his tolerance to pain, as Yizhi had been beaten down many times in the past. Over time, Yizhi trained tirelessly, pouring his heart into every session. Under Flash's guidance, he grew stronger and more resilient. Eventually, Yizhi became immune to pain, a testament to his hard work and determination. Later, he returned to the boxing gym and challenged the same man who had defeated him before. This time, Yizhi blocked the man's powerful kick and even landed a counterpunch. Before the fight could go further, the gym manager, Kate, stepped in and stopped it. Not long after, Kate, the manager of the boxing gym, made an exciting announcement. She offered all the gym members a chance to fight the new champion of the Chinese Boxing Association, a fierce boxer named Lightning Fong. However, none of the members were brave enough to step forward, except for Yizhi. Without hesitation, he volunteered to take on the challenge. Impressed by his courage, Kate offered him a contract to fight against Lightning Fong. The next day, Yizhi stepped into the ring for his first official match. The fight was tough, and Yizhi was knocked down several times. But no matter how many times he fell, he kept getting back up, refusing to give up. As the fight approached the fourth round, Kate noticed Yizhi's incredible determination and resilience. She encouraged him to hold on and keep fighting until the ninth round. Yizhi understood what Kate was hoping for and pushed himself to stay in the match, even though he eventually lost. After the fight, Kate handed Yizhi his payment for the match, and he made plans to compete again once he had recovered from his injuries. Around the same time, Xinxin came to visit Yizhi with some exciting news. He had been accepted into the police academy. At that moment, Xinxin also mentioned that Xinxin had invited them both to dinner. However, when they met Xinxin at the restaurant, Yizhi and Xinxin were surprised and a little upset to see that Xinxin was dating a guy who seemed a bit nerdy. During dinner, a man named Bo Xian, who was sitting nearby, let out an incredibly loud sneeze. It was so loud that it made everyone around them uncomfortable. In response, Yizhi decided to play a prank on Bo Xian by sprinkling pepper in front of him, causing him to sneeze again. But this time, Bo Xian's sneeze was so powerful that it shattered the glasses of people sitting nearby. Yizhi and Xinxin were stunned and quickly realized that Bo Xian was no ordinary person. He was the man behind the superhero Sonic. Xinxin also knew Bo Xian's secret and wasn't surprised by his extraordinary abilities. After dinner, Xinxin invited Bo Xian to have a drink with him, leaving Yizhi and Xinxin alone to talk. During their conversation, Yizhi gave Xinxin a special gift, a watch he had bought using the prize money from his first boxing match the day before. Xinxin accepted the gift, but Yizhi couldn't help but notice that she seemed a little distant and reserved. Later, Yizhi approached Flash, hoping to convince him to give him superpowers. But Flash immediately refused, explaining that superpowers aren't something that can be given. They come from natural talent and cannot be transferred to someone else. At the same time, news broke about a major breakthrough in hypermatrix research, which added to the growing excitement and tension in the city. Despite Flash's rejection, Yizhi was determined to gain superpowers. He tried everything he could think of, sitting in a freezer to see if the cold would give him powers, letting a giant spider bite him, and even standing outside during a storm to get struck by lightning. Unfortunately, none of his attempts worked, and each one landed him in the hospital. After Yizhi recovered from his injuries, Kate arranged another boxing match for him. Excited, Yizhi invited Xinxin to come and watch him fight. Just as he was about to head home, Xinxin surprised him by asking him to dinner alone. She mentioned she had something important to discuss with him. However, before Yizhi could respond, shocking news arrived. Sonic, also known as Bo Xian, had been seriously injured in a battle with Dr. Cube. Worried, Xinxin and Yizhi rushed to the hospital to check on Bo Xian. But when they arrived, Xinxin told Yizhi that he couldn't go inside and should go back home instead. Reluctantly, Yizhi agreed and left. Meanwhile, Dr. Cube was secretly watching Xinxin. He believed that targeting her would help him defeat Sonic and get his hands on the Hypermatrix. During this time, Yizhi continued to participate in boxing matches, one after another. He faced many strong opponents, and although he never won a match, he always managed to hold on until the 9th round. Apparently, his determination and resilience earned him a growing number of fans. People admired his never-give-up attitude, and he even gained a new nickname, the Stonewall. Not only that, journalists were also eager to tell his story, and Yizhi was becoming more and more famous. One day, while Yizhi was training, Kate brought him exciting news. She had arranged a special match for him against Yujiro, the undefeated Asian boxing champion from Japan. It was revealed that Yujiro had won 60 matches in a row and was considered one of the strongest boxers in the world. Yizhi was determined to defeat Yujiro, but he knew it wouldn't be easy. To prepare, he asked Flash for help in learning an ultimate technique. Flash taught Yizhi a powerful punch move that could turn the tide of the fight if used at the right moment. After learning the technique, Yizhi threw himself into intense training, determined to become the new Asian champion. Several days later, news of the upcoming match between Yizhi and Yujiro spread quickly. People were excited, and support for Yizhi grew even stronger. Everyone admired his courage for taking on such a formidable opponent. Meanwhile, Xinxin was teaching her class as usual when she received a call from Bo Xian. She stepped outside to meet him, and to her surprise, Bo Xian proposed to her. At that moment, Xinxin was caught off guard. She remembered Yizhi's promise to her years ago and hesitated to accept Bo Xian's proposal. Unbeknownst to them, Dr. Cube had been monitoring their activities. He had discovered Sonic's true identity as Bo Xian and realized that Xinxin was his weakness. As a result, Dr. Cube began targeting Xinxin, hoping to use her to defeat Sonic and claim the Hypermatrix for himself. The next day, Yizhi was completely focused on his training, pouring all his energy into preparing for the big fight. Meanwhile, Xinxin grew more and more worried. She was afraid that Yizhi might get seriously hurt in the upcoming match against Yujiro. Her concern led to a heated argument between them, which quickly escalated into a big fight. Eventually, they decided to go their separate ways, leaving Yizhi heartbroken. Despite the pain, he channeled his emotions into his training, pushing himself harder than ever. Not long after, the day of the match finally arrived. Soon, Yizhi stepped into the ring to face Yujiro, the undefeated Asian boxing champion. The first round began with a devastating kick from Yujiro that sent Yizhi crashing to the ground. But Yizhi refused to stay down. He got back up again and again, fueled by his determination and the image of Sonic, his rival in love, in his mind. By the third round, Yizhi had taken many hard punches, but he managed to land a powerful punch of his own, hitting Yujiro on the cheek. For the first time ever, Yujiro was knocked down. As a result, the crowd erupted in shock and excitement. Just as Yujiro was getting up, the bell rang, marking the end of the round. This was a huge moment for Yizhi. He had not only survived more than 3 rounds, but had also knocked down the champion. However, while the match was underway, something terrible was happening elsewhere. Dr. Cube had kidnapped Xinxin and the children from the orphanage. As the fight entered the 9th round, Yizhi prepared to use the ultimate move Flash had taught him, hoping to end the match. But before he could strike, Dr. Cube interrupted the broadcast. He took control of all TV channels and revealed that he had taken Xinxin and the children hostage. He demanded that Sonic reveal his true identity to the entire city and hand over the Hypermatrix within 1 hour. If Sonic refused or tried to escape, Dr. Cube threatened to harm the hostages. Watching this unfold, Yizhi realized that something far more important than the championship belt was at stake: Xinxin's safety. Without hesitation, he left the arena, determined to save her. Outside the arena, Ez was surprised to find Jian Han waiting for him. Together, they came up with a plan to enter the orphanage through a secret passage. Before taking action, they went to seek help from Flash, hoping he would join them in rescuing the hostages. But Flash refused, saying he didn't want to repeat the mistakes of the past. Disappointed, Ez and Jian Han left Flash behind and set off on their own. Meanwhile, inside the orphanage, Xinxin was enduring torture at the hands of Dr. Cube and his henchmen. Despite her own pain, she did her best to comfort the frightened children, reassuring them that help was on the way. At the same time, the police were preparing to deal with the Hyper Matrix, aware of the danger it posed if it fell into the wrong hands. On the other side, Ez and Jian Han managed to sneak into the orphanage through a hidden door. Inside, they found Dr. Cube standing guard over the hostages. Without wasting a second, they sprang into action to save them. During the rescue, Ez suffered a serious injury to his stomach, but he refused to give up. Despite the pain, he kept going, determined to free the hostages. In the end, they were able to rescue most of the hostages, but Xinxin was still being held captive in another location. Meanwhile, the police handed over what they claimed was the Hyper Matrix to Dr. Cube. However, it turned out to be a fake, which enraged Dr. Cube. Furious, he threatened to harm Xinxin. At the same time, Sonic tried to reach Xinxin in time, but Ez was faster. He rushed to protect her, shielding her from Dr. Cube's attacks. Unfortunately, Ez took more and more damage as he fought to keep Xinxin safe. Soon after, Jian Han arrived and urged Xinxin to escape while Ez continued to face Dr. Cube alone. At first, it seemed like their efforts were failing. But then, Flash, who had initially refused to help, had a change of heart. He appeared at the perfect moment and joined the fight, managing to overpower Dr. Cube. However, like Sonic, Flash used up all his energy in the battle and tragically lost his life to Dr. Cube. This heartbreaking moment awakened something deep inside Ez. Filled with determination, he rose once again to confront Dr. Cube. Even though Dr. Cube knocked him down repeatedly, Ez kept getting back up. His thoughts were filled with the people he loved, especially Xinxin, the girl he had always adored. Their love gave him the strength to keep fighting. At that moment, Ez had become the bravest man in the world. With one final, powerful strike, fueled by his love for Xinxin, he finally defeated Dr. Cube. But the battle had taken its toll, and Ez collapsed unconscious. When Ez woke up, he found himself in Xinxin's arms, just like the first time he had fallen in love with her. Weak but determined, Ez used his last bit of strength to ask Xinxin to marry him. And with that, the story comes to an end. So the moral of the story is, if life keeps knocking you down, just get back up, because eventually, even the universe will get tired of trying to stop you. And remember, the best way to become a hero isn't by gaining superpowers, it's by being too stubborn to stay down.